Evening, everybody. My name is Mick Mason, and I'm here to talk about Plus My Reach. Bit of a problem this evening, though. No wingman. I don't know where he's gone. He's been having some technical problems. Earlier today, we were in a hangout. We had a problem, but then an hour ago, literally in a hangout, no problem at all. So I guess that's the way things are. But David's going to try and fix his problems and come into the hangout. What I'd like to do is do a very brief demonstration of Plus My Reach, what it does, features and benefits if you like, take questions from the audience. I've got Comment Tracker running, so any comments, even tweets on Google, through Twitter, YouTube comments, for example, they'll all come into the feed, but bear in mind that your comment will be about a minute behind when I actually see it and then respond. So bear that in mind if you're wanting to make a comment. So I suppose the big question is, what is Plus My Reach and what does it do? You know, some time ago, well, 3-4 weeks ago, David and I were approached by one of the beta testers, as it happens, who kind of laid down the gauntlet, if you like. Okay, who kind of laid down the gauntlet, if you like, and asked if it was possible to, pull metrics or data from an event page. So taking that on board, I kind of looked at what was available, what was out there. We discussed what type of information, would be of use. What people are looking for, how many people went, how many people didn't go, comments, plus ones, engagement, because that's what, the key thing is with using video to talk to an audience. You want to engage with them. So we looked at that and we decided that, we'd have a go at it. Within 12 hours I was pulling code out, although it was rudimentary. So we needed to refine that. We needed to put a user interface around it and a website, which I'm going to show you now. Just do the share screen. One moment. There we go. Okay, so Plus My Reach. There's three basic options when you first come to the site. You can create a subscription. You can run a free report if you want. So even if you're not a registered user, just put in your email address and your name and you'll get a responder, and it will ask you for some details for the event, and we'll create the report for you. And that's a free service to anybody who subscribes to the newsletter, and we're more than happy to give that service to people because we know the value that information contains. I can see David's in the film strip, but he's still having audio problems by the looks of it, so I'll keep going. By all means, fire your questions away. What I'm going to do now is just have a brief look at the subscriptions that are currently available. And you'll see we have 4 levels at the moment. So if you're just wanting a taste of the system, you can get a free report, or if you want a paid report, you just subscribe to the bronze account and you can get a paid report for any event that you've been running. If you're looking for something a little bit more in depth, then we've got other subscriptions there, and I'm not going to bore you by going into the details. I'll make the assumption that we all read English, and you can get that information from the site quite happily. What I'm going to do is log in and run a report. So you can see how the system runs. In fact, I think I will run a report on this event. So I'm logged in now, and I've got 3 options. I can review my subscriptions, I can create a report, or view the reports that I've created. So I'm going to create a report now. So just put the event URL in there, click submit. Sometimes it can take a while depending on the size of the report or the size of the event. Now it will take me to my reports page, and straight away, there we go, I'm on the page. We'll see here there's metrics for the event, So it'll tell me what the +1 count is for the event. And in fact, I've got the event page open. So I'm just cross-checking that as well. And how many said they were going? Yeah, that seems to add up. Maybes, event engagers. There's also another table down here, which I can't display at the moment, but it is available. I just don't want to bring it onto a screen share. And it actually shows all the recent reports I have run. So you'll see here for this particular event, I have all the details that you can get from the event page, such as the maybes, the going, the +1 count. The event engagers are the people that have engaged in the event. They may have commented, they may have hit +1, they may have shared, added photos. The reach for those people, so that is the followers for those people that engaged in the event. And then you've got another figure, top engagers, which I think is held here. If I look here, these are the top engagers for this event. So it lists all of them there. And here we have the top 5. Okay. And now I'm just going to go to graphs and show what information we display there. You can see that we display the gender split for the event. For this, the majority seems to be male. It looks to me like around 15, 30, 45% female. And then the engagement for the event. And this is the one that I particularly like, the engagement metric, because what it does is it measures all the activity on the event every time a report is run. Now this can actually dip. You know, if you have a significant number of people who decide that they were going and then mark themselves as not attending an event, you lose all that engagement. So you can actually, I've seen these figures dip at times, but typically you will see a curve like this, a slight increase before the event goes live, more of an increase, and then a peak. Okay, take that off. Poor David, still muted. Why not fire some questions into the chat, buddy? I'm trying to, I'm holding on. I suppose the key things really from an end user's point of view, because I'm a developer, so I get challenged with things, and as I did in this case, within 12 hours I've got code running, and the code's running, but it's on a black and white screen, and that's why we had beta testers on board. One or two have been really, really helpful with the user interface, how it should look and feel, the navigation, etc. And particularly, from their point of view, what is the salient information, what information is relevant, because I might look at something like this from a developer's point of view and say, right, I'm going to get this information and this information, then combine that and a little bit more information from there, and I can actually get the completely wrong information, that's irrelevant. So it's nice to have that guide. It's nice to have those beta testers on board who are using the system, running reports, and coming back to us with feedback on how the system is running, the user interface, the information, the statistics. We've even had reports that we've generated done manually to check, the validity of the figures, because understandably the total engagement figure would indicate that every single person shares, every single person comments, and every single person adds photos and hits +1. Well, it's not realistic, but as something that I've been discussing with the beta testers, event pages for me, for the majority of people, are not being used for their true purpose, and that is a landing page. You put an event page together like this event, for example, and then a month later, 2 months later, you're engaging with a group of prospective clients. You can use this event page. We do. as a landing page for them. They can engage there, they can, engage in the conversation, and then, rekindle that conversation and that interest. So that total reach can actually become a more realistic figure. And then the more people that are engaging on the event and engaging in the page. For example, the graphs that we're displaying at the moment, very simple graphs. All we're doing is calculating the engagement level, an indication of the engagement of an event. The male-female split, for example, that for me is an interesting figure, because some events I've run reports on, I would have assumed that the split would be the other way, maybe more male or more female, and then when I've looked at the report, I've discovered it isn't. And then what I've done, because that's cumulative data, I've run 2 or 3 more reports over a 2-day period, and then I see the figures start to build up, because not every profile has male or female in it. Some people choose not to put gender. With regards to the metrics, we've worked on those and refined those quite hard over the last few days. In fact, just today we have released an update to the metrics, an update to the graphs, an update to a blog, Pepe's Posts. So we have Pepe's Posts there now. We also have Pepe's Peeps, which is quite interesting. If you want to have your event appear in the calendar, you simply invite +MyReach. There are other services out there that do similar things, so we're not expecting that people will come to us for that service. It's an additional service that we can provide. The primary purpose really is to provide statistics, for any event. And we were talking with one of the beta testers just recently with regards how this can help them. Now, I can only look at this from my point of view, but if I was a host looking for a guest, I would then have, if I was using +MyReach, I would then have access to independently verified statistics that say X number of people engaged with my event. I had Y number of +1s, so many comments, etc. You can count the comments up yourself just by going to the event page. A little trick I do is I actually check my email box and I filter on the event to find out exactly how many comments I received. That's one of the reasons why I didn't bother counting that when we were doing the metrics, because it's easy enough to get that information. If, for example, somebody was looking for a prospective advertiser, if I was in a position to be looking for an advertiser, which would be nice, I would simply go to the graphs page. And if I can view my reports, view my graphs, here we go. There. So for me, that is one of the key figures. This engagement metric here. That's a combination of all the actions, everything that's executed on an event. So if I was to go to metrics, for example, go to metrics. There we go. These figures for me are also a good indication, but some people think visually, which is why we've decided to put the information in graphs. It makes it a lot more presentable as well. You can present a graph to somebody far more easily. You may have noticed that we've been pushing graphs into events, but only where we've been asked to do so or we think it's appropriate, because not everybody wants people to post images into their events. I would encourage any Hangout host who is curious about how they're doing with their Hangouts to use this service. We have one beta tester, for example. I've just run, I think, 10 reports for them over a period of time for various events. And below this table, as you'll see there, is a list of every event that I have executed a report on, the last 10 events. And it gives me a very broad figure. It will tell me the engagement metric. I can link to the event. I can look at the details for that report as well, but it gives me an indication of which events were more popular. So I may do an event on I don't know, crocheting, and I get a low attendance rate or a low engagement metric. I may do another event on Google evangelism and get a high engagement rating, you know. One of the things that's been quite interesting for me from a technical perspective is I have been running reports on people's events without them knowing, because it's possible for me to do that, of course. And some people have actually really surprised me. People who, one in particular, I know that was thinking of stopping doing Hangouts, and I showed the figures to this person, and I said, I wouldn't, not if I had this engagement metric, this figure, I would definitely carry on doing what I'm doing, which was nice. Oh, thank you, Ronnie. A little reminder there. Let me bring the screen up. So let me just go back through these figures again very briefly for people. So you've got your +1 count, going maybes, you know, these are all things you can pull from the event page. The event engagers. Now, the event engagers isn't the same as going. We've run reports on events, for example. I ran a report on a particular event that had 1,700 people attending, but we actually only found 70 people or 80 people that actually did anything on that page, be it a +1 outside the event, be it a comment, be it a share, etc. So what we're more interested in is what the figure of people who actually attend an event, engage in an event. The two figures I would be more interested in from a host's point of view, and I'm not talking just about using these details for advertising. You know, as a prospective guest on a show, you could ask somebody, well, what's your engagement metric, or, you know, what were the figures for your last event? And it's not easy to find that information by going to Google Plus and looking through the ripples, and looking through all the other additional information. You have to do a lot of work, and, you know, it can take 3 to 4 hours. The two figures I'd be very interested in would be the top engagers, because these are people who have executed 2 or more actions on the page. They may have shared, they may have +1s, they may have added a photo, they may have commented, etc. And, you know, the engagement metric, which is a good indication of the overall engagement for that event. Now, yes, I think some may say you could game that number. Yeah, you could. I could walk into one of my events and just keep commenting. But by doing that, I'm actually doing myself a disservice. I may increase my engagement metric or my indication of, you know, how well engaged that event is, but I'll actually alienate guests or prospective viewers because I'm just spamming my own event page. So there's a fine line to draw there. If I have a look at the graphs again for a moment, you'll see for this event, for example, I'll go to my most active engagers. Clearly, we've got Pepe up there at the top. We'll have to tell you the story about Pepe one day. Me just underneath. And this chap, he apparently seems to have been one of our top engagers. Tina Willis was down here earlier today, so she's been busy doing other things, I'm guessing. And here's all the other active engagers. So this is basically anyone who has engaged with the event in a productive way. They may have done a couple of things. They may have done, for example, may have performed a share and a comment, etc. And just see if we've got a few questions here as well. Jason's asking if we can use the tool to look into the past. Unfortunately, not. What we do when we run an event report, quit share screen for a second. When we execute a report on an event, it's a snapshot in time. So we take the information and we present it. So unfortunately, no, we can't go back in time. For example, from yesterday, or I think it was early hours of this morning, we started showing the going and the maybes and the +1s. We can't get that information retrospectively, unfortunately. It's a real shame. We'd like to. Can you do side-by-side event comparisons? Right now, no, but we need data in order to be able to do that. One of the things that you can do right now, Jason, is if you run reports, let's say you run 3 reports on one event, 5 reports on another event, and 2 reports on another event, and they don't necessarily have to be your events, you know, there could be events that you're attending as a guest. When you've gone through, say, a week or 2 weeks worth of reporting, you'll have accumulated some data. So you can look at the engagers table or the metrics table, and it's the table I'm not showing because it's screen sharing all the events that I've been running reports on, so I'd prefer not to share it because it's actually hidden. Even though the metrics page you can share publicly, this data is hidden because it can contain data that links to other people's events, and we don't want to share that information even though it's in the public domain. We'd prefer it if people found that information themselves. But you will have a list of the last 10 ultimate reports ran for an event. So if you've done, say, 7 events but run 3 reports on each, there'll be 7 reports in there. And very quickly, you can have a look at that and you can see what the engagement indication is. From there, I need to put another little icon in there that says view graphs, so you can just jump straight to the graphs for that event. Have a detailed look. If your engagement figure's high for one event, for example, and the subject matter is SEO, you may want to look into that and find out. One of the other things that we are going to be looking into, although not immediately, is one of the key pieces of information from my point of view, and I'm only talking from my own personal point of view here, so if there's anyone in the audience that wants to contradict me, you're more than welcome. I'm very interested in people who actively engage. 500 people might say they're coming to my event, but only 20 really engage, and it's those people that I want to communicate with for 2 reasons. Number 1, they're interested in what I'm doing, and number 2, I'm not talking to people who are not interested in what I'm doing. So I could send out an event invitation to 100 people, but only 20 respond. I'd sooner send out an event invitation to 20 people and have 20 respond. That's just my own personal opinion. With this information, we can do that. Any more questions? Exactly what brands want to measure, Laurie? Well, yeah, you laid down the gauntlet, Laurie, so that's why he's been developed. Laurie's been fantastic, absolutely spectacular. I remember when we first started talking a few weeks ago, she would be making suggestions and, saying, can you just do this? Can you just do that? And I say, yeah, no problem, and she was expecting friction all the way. And, some developers are like that, but I'm kind of middle of the road. I want to do something that, from a coding point of view that, provides value, and then I kind of forget about the user interface. So it's been really nice having Laurie and others on board where they've said, could you change this? Could you change that? Can we change that around a little? When I click here, can we have it do that, for example? So it makes life a little easier for me. These guys are driving the design in effect, for every hour of code, I might spend 10 hours writing the user interface. And it's been spectacular having people like Laurie and Mia and others on board that have, been, Chef in particular, I spent, I think, half an hour in a hangout with him the other day, and he came out with some fantastic suggestions. Some of them have gone into version 1.06. So it's been really good. Any more? Yes, Jason. The answer to that question is probably in version 1.07, at the latest 1.08. The API is already coded. Sorry, I better repeat Jason's questions if people know what I'm answering. Jason has asked, can you capture these people that engage into a circle as CSV, etc.? I'm not too sure about downloading the data as a CSV file. I would have to check the developer terms of service to be able to do that. Clearly, we present the data. Whether we can allow you to download it is another question. Certainly the user ID, yeah, that's possible. But what we are actually thinking of doing is creating a table that says, here are, like we've got now, your top engagers, and then a tick box next to each one with a little button at the bottom with a box that says, add these users to a circle. So you can just go tick, 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 circle name, Tuesday's event on Flugelbinders, add, and it'll just group all these users up and add them to a circle for you. Of course, it's going to require extended permissions, etc., but no, technically it's possible. We've got some of the code ready, and we're just writing some of the other code that needs to go in there. So expect that to come very soon, yes. Now, this is an interesting question from Ronnie. What do you think that advertisers will expect regarding reach? I would answer that question with a question that, depending on the advertiser, depending on the brand, depending on the product, depending what it is that you're selling, then some may expect, extensive reach where you can communicate with thousands of people, hundreds of thousands, 50 million people. And others may be looking at a very niche market and may not actually require a broad, reach. That's really down to, the individual hosts. I've developed this, or we've developed this, for two distinct reasons. One of them is for the host, for themselves, and for the guests. So if I was going to appear on a show, I would run metrics on that person's show, maybe the last 3 shows that they did. I wouldn't be interested in how many people said they were going, or didn't attend. I want the metrics. And then I would make a judgment based on that, on whether I would appear on the show. Now, that may seem brutal, but time is an important thing. Somebody may have 200,000 people following them, but not engage very actively in the posts, in the events. So I would say it's down to the individual, host, because looking at this purely as a tool to recruit advertisers, I think is probably not the best way of looking at it. It can do that, of course. Clearly, it provides data that is gold dust to an advertiser or prospective advertiser. But from my point of view, it actually has other uses as well, and those uses need to be looked at. And I would argue, for example, if somebody invited 1,000 people but only 20 attended, is that a bad thing? Maybe not. Maybe the only 20 people attended, but it had an engagement metric of 500, 800. Because all these people were really active and they shared and they commented and they hit +1. So you have to look at different figures, I think, when you're looking at things from that perspective. What's a Flugelbinder? I've watched the film, Ronnie. Come on, surely you've seen the film. Tick group adds circles, Jason says. Export to CSV, scrape public emails. Oh my God, no. Using the word scrape? No way. You can actually get the user email through the API, but it requires an invitation on our behalf for the user to come to our service. And then, for example, if you go to Plus My Reach now, at the top of the page, you will see a button that says share Pepe's thoughts with friends. That's a Google Plus interactive post, but it requires authentication. So you have to give it permission and say, yeah, no problem, I'll let Pepe have access to, it says email address, but we don't gain access to your email address when you click that button. We simply gain access to your circles, that's it. Then you post the post. In order to obtain somebody's email address, no. One of the things, this is probably going to fire Jason up actually. One of the things that we do obtain, which we're not currently displaying, is the other social networks that the individual is connected to with a link. So, for example, I haven't got LinkedIn on my Google Plus profile. I should have. I only noticed when I started running reports and I appeared in them, and my Facebook link was there, my Twitter link, and YouTube, but no LinkedIn. I thought, oh, I need to update that. If you look through the API, there's a whole host of information available, but you do need extended information, extended permissions for that. It's just the same as on Facebook. To obtain an email, birthday, I think you need extended permissions, but on Google you don't. So you have to look at the two different platforms in different ways. Google's more of an open platform, so much more information is available publicly. And me personally, talking about the email address, I don't think it's as valuable as some marketers say it is, because the very fact that I can circle these people and communicate with them directly in a platform that they choose to communicate on is worth more than an email. I actually respond to my messages on Google much more readily than I do to emails. So hopefully marketers feel the same way, and hopefully, being able to put these people into a circle and communicate with them is a good idea. For example, David is doing a hangout with David Amerland on Friday, and one of the features that we're going to provide is this ability to add people to circles. Now, right now, those top engagers have to be added manually. You could go to the engagers page of the report and go click, add, click, add, click, add. A laborious process if there are 50, 100 people. So we'll make that simple, we'll make it easier. But the ability to be able to communicate with those individuals in one go with one message, I think is definitely worthwhile, and we'll get that developed. So I don't think there's any more questions, and I'm running out of wind here. And I really did want to keep the hangout down to 30 minutes, which is great. What I would suggest is have a look at the website, have a look at what's available. Okay. Jason saying that the facility is available. Well, it probably is. We could probably get the data as well, but I think let's engage on that separately, Jason, because there's another reason why I don't particularly care to pull people's email addresses out of Facebook or any other social platform. It's extremely time consuming. What I would suggest is have a look at the website, have a look at the options available, have a look at the reports. There are some public reports which we're going to publish, and the engagement reach, for example, engagers, etc. And if you've got any questions, feel free to post them in the event page itself. And on Friday, we have a private hangout for the beta testers. And so we're going to be, hopefully soliciting a lot more information from them on the user interface. And one other thing we're going to do is, as we posted in the event, is offer a free subscription to the top engager. So once the event is finished, we'll rerun the report, give us a free subscription to the top engager for the event, which is one of the reasons why I created that code, because when we agreed to give away the subscription, I thought, well, now I've got to find out who the top engager is. So the necessity being the mother of invention. So just want to say thanks very much for attending, and again, if you've got any questions, just leave them in the event page or contact David or myself directly. Thanks very much, guys.